There we go. What's up, everyone? Thanks for joining us for another episode of the Game Cast. I am one of your hosts, Kenny, and with me is Teresa.
Hello, everyone.
And we're gonna kind of relax this week, because it's been a busy one. Today, actually, today we got a whole new roof for my house.
What?
Yeah, we had so for a while, I want to say since maybe the end of 2018 up until now, we've had leaking, but not all the time. Not when it rains all the time. Apparently, the people who so the roof, I guess, was repaired years ago or was put on wrong years ago, and the way it was put on was like if the wind blows a certain way when it's raining, it'll actually leak through.
Oh, that's
So
horrible.
yeah, and so like you wouldn't notice it at first because been here for a while, and it just so happens that the rain didn't blow a certain way, and so the we didn't see much leaking or anything like that. But then over time, the water started to come through, and so it like it wrecked part of the ceiling in certain rooms and whatnot. And so we're like, crap, gotta get this fixed. Um, had a guy come out look at it last year, and he said that yeah, the roof is just bad. Like people they put it on bad. You guys need a whole new roof. And he was like, you can go and repair it. That will be cheaper, but you'll probably have to repair it a few years down the line versus getting a new roof where you have like 30 years, you're covered. And so we were like, we're going to do the 30-year one because I don't want to, half-ass anything. And I don't
Exactly.
want, if we do move, I don't want to give anybody a bad roof. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so, we had, saved up, got our tax return, and everything. We're like, boom, we're going to go ahead and do this based on the quote that he gave. And
Yeah.
we called up, and I was kind of nervous because I was like, it's Corona season,
Mm.
uh, but not in a good way. And I was like, they're not going to be able to come out and fix it. And he was like, actually, they are trying to keep them as busy as possible because, you know, they don't have any other work. There's certain things that we're doing that they can't do because you have, social distancing and everything.
Yeah.
But with the roof, obviously, they don't have to come inside your house.
Yeah.
They can stay outside. You can stay inside, that sort of thing. And typically, when people they come to fix your roof, you would leave, like go somewhere else because it's kind of noisy or whatever. But
Yeah.
we had to stay. Um, and
Hmm.
so they came out today, and they were able to. They want to say they started around 8:39 a.m. and
Uh-huh.
they finished right at 6 p.m.
Oh, wow.
So it was definitely an
Nice.
all day thing, but they did a really, really good job. Seemingly, I don't know roofs like that, but you
I
know
know
what I'm saying?
they did a great job. And you're like, but it's a sunny day, not raining, and I don't know anything about roofs.
Exactly, right? It looks nice. We got a darker color, and which is gonna help when because we're gonna eventually get the siding done and stuff like that done, and
Uh,
make it look nice and whatnot. And
mm.
so, um,
Upgrade, upgrade.
facts, and it is, and not to necessarily crap on the people who lived here before, but they didn't properly take care of things, and so
Yeah.
a lot of the in terms of fixing up the place has been because of that. It wasn't necessarily because we wanted to improve. We did want to improve things, but a lot of it was like, oh crap, we didn't know that was a thing. We need to fix that. Or they tried to hide it, and we finally found out about it, and we need to fix it. So
Mhm.
the blessing in that is that obviously our house has gone up, like
The
the
value.
all yeah, the value has gone up, especially with the roof, like cha-ching. And because we also had to do a few years ago, we had to do um, the basement because the basement
Mhm.
was flooding. And
Oh,
so,
terrible.
but in doing that, we have a better basement than we had before.
Mhm.
So awesome. And so, like, we have a better roof, fancy roof. Yep. And once we get the other things done, it'll be splendiferous. So, um,
Splendiferous. I want you to go on one of those shows. Like, I want the Property Brothers to come over now.
OMG, if they would, that would be great. You know, I wouldn't shake your hand. I give you an air hug. Uh, yeah, that would be dope because I would like to. There's a lot of things that we would like to do with the house, obviously, and there's things that we can't do. We might have to wait until we eventually move. But
Yeah.
part of it is weird because like you're fixing up your house so you can kind of enjoy it a little bit more,
Uh-huh.
and and then you're like, well, okay, we might have to move, and it's like, darn, like I don't want to, like these are my floors, you know what I mean? Like I don't want
Yes.
to.
Yes.
um, and so, but unfortunately, I think space wise, that might be something we have to look into years from now when the girls and our son is, a teenager. It might be a little bit harder to share the space, and so
Yeah.
that's something for down the road. But that was, a part of my week has been worrying about making sure because it started flooding again, or dripping through on Monday, I think.
Yeah.
Um,
Meaning,
and then we had to call and everything. So thankfully that won't be happening. They put in a rush order. Shout out to all the builders and whatnot, the people who came by and hooked us up. They did an awesome job,
nice.
and I can definitely put their information below just to kind of give them,
Yeah. What
if
company were they?
they are crap. I don't want to say the wrong thing. We've been dealing with multiple companies,
Got, got it.
and
It's like,
so
like
I don't want to give the credit. Yeah, I don't want to give the credit to the wrong people.
yeah.
Um, crap. Hold up. Talk
Yeah,
about
I
yourselves.
hate that. I definitely hate that. Like you'd be like, oh yeah, I've been going to so and so getting my nails done, and then you realize that the last person who did your nails awesome was actually not that person because they were on vacation that day, and you got their friend to do it, and you're like, oh my God, yes. Oops, no,
Yes,
it
wrong
was
person.
that
So
one.
this is B&W Builders.
Okay,
B&W Builders, and they do more than just roofs. They do like the siding of your house, replacing doors and stuff, adding, if you want it like a fenced in or not fenced in, like
right.
what do you call the porch? Like when you have the porch and then you want to get it like a roof and like a mesh or whatever. I forget what it's called, but it's
The gazebo?
kinda, but it's like extension of your house kinda on the
Oh,
outside.
the indoor outside, indoor. Sorry, it's the Well, now I feel like an idiot too because it's the closed-in porch though.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
they do that, the screen porches, the decks,
Yeah.
gutters, siding, doors, railings. They do all the mostly outside stuff. And they
So,
they do a really good job.
do they also build IKEA furniture?
I don't think so.
That's unfortunate. I was gonna be like, wow, these people are awesome, and they even do your flat packs. And they don't do flat packs. I have to rethink my feelings toward them.
So yeah, they did a great job, and so and it was affordable. They weren't the type to kind of be like, you know, uh I'm trying to get you for everything
No.
possible. Like, here's what's, obviously they're gonna get what they're worth,
Yeah.
but it's like, we're gonna give you what I think you need and what I can. And they kind of, when the guy came out and talked to us, he gave us options. He's like, there's kind of like when he was like, you can repair it. We don't do repairs. We do, basically a whole new thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, let's do that. Let's. I want to be, you guys come out and you do it once and then it's done
Yeah.
and you don't have to worry because that's what doing the basement, it was peace of mind. Like I didn't have to think about coming home and my computers and everything are submerged or whatever.
Yeah. Homeownership is hard. I mean, it really,
Yes.
really is a hard, like a big decision. I understand, like, especially when you're younger and you have parents and you're like, okay, I'm gonna do the whole move out thing, and then they're like, buy a piece of property. It's important, buy something, own something, don't pay, money into rent. But renting sometimes just gives you the ability to not be concerned about things. I know my brother said that one time. He was like, my brother moved out of my parents' house and into his own house. He bought a house. And then years down the line, he was like, man, sometimes I wish I at least tried the apartment thing because it is such a big responsibility. It really is.
Right.
And like things can come out of nowhere. Like, oh my goodness, my entire AC HVAC is shot, and then you got to spend 2-3 grand or something immediately. So yeah, it's a lot, but in the end, like when it's fixed and when it's nice, it's so worth it.
Yeah. And I mean obviously like renting is good because you build credit and that can, help you get a home.
Mhm.
But and I think homes are worth it in the sense that that's wealth. That's something that you can pass down
Yeah.
to someone else. That's something where you have immediate amount of, certain amount of money when you go to buy a new home.
Yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
it's definitely worth having, but at the
Yeah.
same time, it's not something that you could just jump into lightly,
Yeah.
and it is a headache. It is definitely a
Yeah.
headache. That said, I think it's also great in a sense that even if we don't, let's say we do move, but we keep the house, like we just go and buy a new one and we keep this one, we
Hmm.
can give it to our kids, and that's something that especially for a black family, that's
Yeah.
not something that you typically see.
Yes.
Maybe our white counterparts, not so much us, and
Right.
so
No, I agree with
definitely
you.
worth it. Definitely worth it. And then it's an investment. Once you have it paid off, I mean, that's amazing. You just have to be diligent in that sense,
Yep.
um, to do
If
that.
if you do get another property, you've got this as your income property. So first of all, it's like, hey, I've got this much worth because I own this house, so this is my worth. Hello. And then you go ahead and get yourself another property that's worth more, and you're like, hey, I'm even worth more, and that's my income property. This is how much my mortgage costs, but this is how much I'm renting it out for. Money in the bank, cha-ching.
Word. So
But
yeah, and then so outside of home maintenance, we actually me and the wife cut the grass, and it sounds like something mundane, but it's like we weren't doing it for a while because of our riding lawnmower kind of died, and then
oh,
the being with the seasons changing and everything, and then the fact that we weren't going out, we couldn't get, just certain things that we needed to do it. So when we finally got around to doing it, the grass was higher than we wanted it to be, and it was a workout. It really was. It was a workout.
but you did it
But
together.
yeah, 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 and it's great, and it's always like we live around a bunch of people that are retired, and they just seemingly have the time to do whatever they need to do when it comes to their yard, their house, or whatever. And so at times we kind of look like we kind of stick out, like, oh, that yard's not done, or that whatever. And so it was cool to have not only our yard done and other things getting fixed, but then we got the newest roof on the block. And so,
Yeah.
um, and it was funny watching like some of the older people were like jogging or walking by, and they kind of like stare, and I'm like, yep, that's us. Yeah, you keep all your judgmental stares and whatnot, take that on up the road. Uh, yeah, we're good. And so,
About grass, though, since I know you just said that you were mowing the grass, did you know that the smell of cut grass is grass's way of sending a distress signal? Like the grass gets cut and then it sends a distress signal. It's in pain.
that's creepy.
It's
No.
sad. Yeah, apparently that's the truth. And I mean, I guess you know how like an aloe plant, if you break it, it starts to heal itself. You
Right.
can see like the aloe ooze out and then turns white and then it starts to heal itself. And I guess grass is the same way. The chemical signals first aid, but then it also can signal to insects to help with the mending of them. I guess insects, because they carry pollens or whatnot or whatever's on their legs, maybe that helps. But I just thought that it was very sad, and I'm a plant lover anyway, and so I always believe in all of these ideas, that okay, plants can feel this, trees can feel this, trees sleep at night, trees talk, da 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 da. So when I learned that the other day, I was very sad.
Oh man. Well, I had a bunch of inappropriate jokes, but that's okay. Um, yeah. So yeah, that was essentially my week. I also also I started a digital painting class.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
and so for people who don't know, I graduated from VCU with a fine arts degree,
Yes.
and so I can draw really well. Essentially, what that means. But it's been a little while since I've done it on a regular, and I want to kind of get back into drawing on a like daily. And I figured one of the ways I could do that is taking a class, because with a class you have assignments, you have things you have to do, and that kind of gets you back into the habit. And so I was like, oh man, what class should I take? Because I'm in this weird spot where I'm not a novice by any
Yeah.
means, but then I don't feel like an expert in a lot of places,
Right.
and also because I haven't done it in a long time. So I'm in this weird, because I'm not exactly intermediate either. And so I saw this class for painting, and one of the things I struggle with, at least in Photoshop, was getting my colors to be vibrant enough.
Oh yeah.
I have a like with coloring, I have a painterly style, but it's not where I want it to be in terms of vibrancy and feeling. And so I saw this guy, and I can't say the name of the school. It's like Domestica or something like that.
Yeah.
Because I have like the English counterpart, and they have a bunch of different classes, but because of Corona, I believe they were the prices were cut, and
Oh.
so there was a discount. And so I signed up for it, and some of the things that I liked about it was the fact that you could do it at your own pace,
Hmm.
and you have access to the classes forever after you pay.
Oh.
And his style of painting digitally was really awesome, and it's only taken. I've done like two, so they're split into units. I've only done like 2 units, and so far my painting skill has gone up
Mm.
digitally like already. This dude is he's amazing, and I was like, wow, this is great. I'm drawing it, so like yeah, I've been kind of dabbling into that in between writing,
Yeah.
and I'm looking forward to uh, drawing more often and
Yeah.
creating and stuff like that while I have a bit of well, I don't really have downtime, but while we're stuck here,
Yeah.
um, trying to get those things done, it would be really cool. So um, if anybody's looking for an illustrator, hit me up.
Hit you up. No,
Yes.
that's really cool. I mean, I think that's awesome because I watch that show Terrace House. I love that show Terrace House. And this season, one of the girls had mentioned how like she went to school and her bachelor's was actually in production. Like she was always an artist. She always drew and did stuff like that. And of course, she wanted to be considered more of an artist. And then, but after school, like she had this idea, and I guess this is kind of a sentiment that is not necessarily just Japanese. Obviously, Americans might feel this sentiment too, but it makes sense that this was kind of like a very Japanese sentiment. You know, my parents helped me. I went to college on their dime, and they deserve to be paid back for what they did for me type thing. So after she graduated from school, instead of becoming an artist and going like into more of a creative space where she could build her not only her skill but her confidence and just become a better artist as you do when you're in the workforce. She went into more of the production side instead. So instead of being creative, it was just like do the work, get it out. And but that granted her lots of money. She was able to pay her parents back and be a responsible adult, a responsible independent adult. And so here she is years later, and she had this feeling that I could have. I wish I had done more creative work. So she's doing more creative work right now, but then went and spoke with her teacher, actually one of her professors, who was very blunt with her and said, you're nowhere near where you could have been if you had continued to be an artist in the creative space than going to work, and basically told her that her drawings were juvenile. Like her artwork is nowhere near where it should be. And that really stung. That really hurt her because that was something that she was already feeling herself. It's like you go to school, you learn a craft, and then you just go to work so you can get some money, and then you forget what you loved, like why you went to school in the first place.
It's rough.
So yeah, it's rough, and I can, like, especially in that creative space. So I'm really glad that you're doing that.
Thanks, man. And piggybacking off of that, I mean, I think the person was a kind of a jerk, because none of that needs to be said. Uh, we feel that. Like,
Yeah.
there's some things that I might have put in the forefront before art, like wanting to have a family and stuff like that. Like,
Yeah.
I could have been a starving artist, but that doesn't really work with a wife. So no.
Yeah.
But then also student loans, stuff like that.
Yeah.
It can be kind of rough. And so you kind of have to do what you have to do. I know, like, one of my friends, shout out to Kelly Brown, he went to school for art and actually stayed in art. Like, all of his jobs have been art related
Hmm.
and awesome. And he has a wife, so it's not like he was starving either. But that wasn't necessarily the case. And so, interesting enough, I got into writing and I've been doing
Yeah.
really well there. So it's not the end of the world. You can always get back into it, and you don't lose. you know, like there's some muscle memory you might lose, but for the most part, whatever. And one of the things I found out, and I have to keep telling myself, is that someone likes your art.
Yeah.
Someone does. Not because as far as like artists and like okay, so like we can there's a grade or a range we can say for someone who does realistic drawings or if you're going into a field where you have to do let's say like medical drawings, like okay, there's a certain range or certain skill set that you have to have. But on the creative end, I mean, there's artists that I've seen that I can't stand the appeal, but so many people love their work.
Yeah.
They get paid to do a ton of stuff. And you know, if you read a comic book and you know, Marvel, DC, whoever, and see all the artists and how the art for, like, let's say X-Men or whatever, will change after a certain, you know, run,
Yeah.
and it'll be a totally different style, and it's like, you know, I like this style, I don't like the style, I like these elements, I don't like these like there's so
Yeah.
many different things, and like everyone likes it though. Like there's someone out there who's like, I really enjoy what you do. You know, it might look goofy to some, but to me, I think it's great. It fits my whatever. I got hit up early on, and I'm kind of kicking myself because I didn't realize what was happening. But I was putting my artwork up on a blog, like a blog spot, and a guy who was making a film was like, I would like you to draw basically a poster to advertise for the film. And, you know, he would pay me and all the other stuff. And I was at the time so busy, like thinking like no one likes my artwork and all this other stuff, blah, blah, blah. I wasn't checking my blog.
Mm,
And he left a message there, but I didn't have any contact information. That was also a mistake. And and so it was kind of like when I finally got back to him, he was like he kind of went somewhere else, you know, because he never heard from me. And
yeah.
it's like, dang. And it's like the fact that it was, I mean, it was a, you know, it wasn't like, you know, Iron Man 3 or anything, but it was definitely it was a film that you had to see in the theater.
Yeah.
And I was like, that could have been really, really cool thing to do. And
Yeah.
so, you know, it's thinking that, you know, it's not good enough, and it might not be for you. You know, you might have to work at it, but that doesn't mean that there isn't, like, no one's gonna like it. Like someone out there is gonna like it. Someone's gonna be willing to pay for it, especially if you keep at it. Like
Yeah.
there's different styles for a reason.
Yeah. That's accurate. That's true. I mean, we are definitely our worst critics, and we judge ourselves so much when it's like, stop judging yourself and just do.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Um, so that took up way more time than I thought. Uh, some big news that came out this week was the Sony released uh, or revealed the PlayStation 5 controller. It's the DualSense controller, so new name slightly,
Yeah.
and it has to do with audio. Uh, as opposed to the feedback that they normally have, which is, you know, vibrations and whatnot. This one's all about audio. Apparently, it's going to have a built-in microphone, so you don't need a headset, similar to the Switch or the was it the Wii U, where you could just talk and people can hear you. You can use microphones though. It's still going to have a battery pack,
Mhm.
so there's that for all the charging. It's supposed to be stronger.
Mhm.
The controller itself looks bulky, like it
Yeah.
looks kind of bulkier than the PS4 controller, but apparently it's lighter. Make of that what you will.
Maybe they use some of that like spaceship style stuff, like it's lighter.
Mm,
Like they use new polycarbonate titanium dioxide nitroglycerin.
they something. They yeah. I mean, hopefully it's not. You know, I don't think it's gonna be cheap or, you know, like you know, you breathe on it wrong and
Yeah.
it cracks, but it does look I don't know. It reminds me of a. It looks like they try to fit a Xbox controller into it or something. Like it's.
Okay, I was gonna say that when I first saw the picture, I was like, kind of looks like an Xbox controller, but I'm not gonna say anything because that might offend some people. Yeah, it really does.
It does. I see they still have the analog sticks at the bottom. I really wish they wouldn't do that. Personally, for me, especially with playing shooters, like the analog sticks are too close. Like my thumbs, when I'm resting my hand, my thumbs don't sit that way
Yeah,
naturally.
yeah,
and not to say that the Xbox controller is supernatural or anything, but it's just more comfortable.
Yeah.
Uh, and so this one, however, with the bulkier shape, it might work. It might work. I don't know. I think it looks nice. They're going for a white color. I'm thinking that the PlayStation 5 is going to be either white with blue trim or just all white. Um, or
Yeah.
like with black trim or whatever. But it looks okay. Like I don't think it looks bad.
No, it doesn't look bad. It kind of reminded me of a cloud in a way. I mean,
Yeah.
it's white and then there was some blue stuff on it, so it just kind of reminded me of a cloud. I just want to know, I really do want to understand the material because white controllers get dirty. And
Yeah.
so like depending on the type of material, I mean you can kind of get away with easy cleaning or just the type that doesn't like dirt doesn't really sit on,
Yeah.
because I know that type that ends up changing the tactileness. Like you don't want a slippery controller, something that slips out of your hand just because we don't want it to get dirty. Well, then that's
Right.
why you make them a different color than white. So
Yeah. I mean, and that's true. And it's and I because I'm the guy with the toothbrush trying to make sure they stay clean. Uh, but yeah, I guess I would hope for they have like a new material. Like maybe they
yeah,
tested something where you can if your hands get sweaty, it won't fly out of the out of your
right.
hands and kill someone. Um, but at the same time, it's kind of impervious, excuse me, to dirt in a way.
Well,
Um,
that's the new dexatrim polycarbonate sulfate soda Coca-Cola meth lab thing that they're doing. Yeah, that's that.
TM.
Yeah. Hmm.
Uh, so yeah, it's interesting. What's really cool though, and this is coming from someone who's not ready for the PS5. I'm
No.
not ready for the Xbox Series X or the PS5. I think that the current consoles still have life.
Yeah.
I think that I mean, The Last of Us 2, which is funny because The Last of Us 1 came out at the end of the PS 3's life cycle, but Last of Us 2 got pushed back because of Corona. But that's at the end of the PS4's life cycle, and it looks amazing. Like some of the games that are coming out, um, that are going to be coming out soon, look amazing.
Hmm.
And I think that we still have life in it. Like there's still, I mean, even when the PS3 launched, I want to say God of War 2 or 3 still came out on the PS2
Mm.
because it was
Yeah.
still a big thing. So like I think because the technology is better, we actually should have longer lifespans personally.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm gonna agree with you on that. I may have said this before, but I just don't know what we're doing. Like we're still looking at a TV and playing with a controller. You remember how when we went to PS2 and the graphics got really cool and the 3D got better and it was like and just the PS2 was cooler, it just looked cooler and whatever. Da da da, right? And all of the controllers had cord still, but it was dual shock controller and they were like cool.
yeah,
Yeah, and people were like paying more money. And then I got one of the black ones and then I had the one that was see-through and
yeah,
whatever, because I was doing something. But then we go to PS3 and we've got these wireless controllers and we're like, yeah, man, I'm bad, I'm cool. Xbox, when it had come out, it was like, oh, it's got 4 controllers, da da da. Like we were doing that kind of thing. Okay. I don't know what's new. We are playing in 4K HDR. I just Are we playing in 5D yet? Can we manipulate time? I just want to know, is the
well,
PlayStation 5 a wormhole to the next dimension? What does it do?
that comes in PS8.
Okay.
No, this is so
I
one
know.
of the things one of the things is I think so well actually before I go there, what I was saying before with the controller was that I don't want to go to the next system. However, I
Yeah,
think it's cool because there's a certain excitement that comes from seeing new technology and
yeah,
like
of course.
seeing that the controller is new. I want to test it out. I want to press the buttons. You know what I mean? Like I want to play something on it now.
Mm.
That said, I would rather it not come out now. But what you were saying right now, because the technology is usually behind PC in that sense, in terms of horsepower, they usually try to innovate in other places. And in this sense, the PS5 and the Xbox Series X are going to be able to render these like really amazing games, but in ways that allow for almost zero load times. And what I mean by that is not only in terms of playing, where like the game is on and then you're just going, you don't have to load when you're going inside buildings or going to a new country or anything like that, but then also being able to swap games without there being any loading. So like you have Grand Theft Auto, 6 or whatever,
Uh-huh.
and you're playing that. You're like, you know what? I don't want to play this right now. And you click over to Red Dead Redemption 3, and it just pops up, and you're playing right where you left off, um, which is something that can't be done right now. Not in
Yeah.
the same, uh, not as quickly as
Yeah.
all that. And
Yeah.
so there are things that they're doing to make it a little bit easier, a little bit faster, and while still having the uh, graphic fidelity that we come accustomed to,
Hmm.
and also doing innovative things with the cloud in the sense that like being able to stream from your console to like your phone, and it looks amazing because it's not actually running on the phone.
Yeah.
um, Stuff like that, like those are things that they're trying to innovate on,
Hmm.
and I think it's really cool.
Yeah.
At the same time, I want to see innovation within the games themselves, and
Uh-huh.
I think that only comes when, for the most part, only comes when you've sat with a system long enough.
Yes.
When the developer isn't trying to, you know, weed out all the bugs of the new, dev kits, when they're not trying to figure out how much, like how they can get more horsepower out of whatever. Like
Yeah.
when they finally nailed it, that's when you get some of the like a really amazing stuff. And if you look at the history of games, a lot of the really, 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 really good stuff kind of comes towards the end of a console's lifespan. And
Right.
so I think the PS4 has more legs uh, than whatever, but they got to make money. So there's that. Um, and, I want to say the PS4 is one of the, yeah, is one of the most that like outside of like the PS2, I think, and a few others, like the most sold console ever.
Oh, wow. Out of all consoles ever.
I believe so. Like it's up there, or either the quickest in terms of reaching a certain milestone.
Mm.
I'll say that. But they've done a great job in terms of selling this stuff, and so obviously they want to be like, you know what, PS5, let's keep it moving. Um, but at the same time, as a consumer, I'm like, yo, like I was on the Xbox One kind of early.
Hmm.
PS4 not so much. I got it a little later, and so
Yeah.
I'm still playing catch up, you know.
Yeah.
Uh, uh, but
I'm
even then,
playing catch up. I am literally still playing catch up. I still am on the PS2. I talk about it all the time because that's what I have.
but you also have an Xbox,
I do have
Xbox One.
Xbox
So
One. I do. I can't lie about that. I do have that, but it's basically just a Blu-ray player at this point.
yeah, we got to get you back in there.
I
Um,
know.
but there are some cool things. One thing I don't like about the controller is the rechargeable battery that's like just in the controller. Um,
Oh,
because, or rather, I should say, I like the option of not having it. The Xbox controllers, since the 360, allowed you to use batteries. Excuse me,
yeah,
like double A batteries, right?
yeah,
And a lot of people are like, "Ah, you got to spend money on batteries." Blah blah blah. Here's the thing: I've had multiple charge packs
yeah,
for the controller,
yeah,
um, and they've died, and there's nothing I could do with it.
yeah,
Once it doesn't hold a charge anymore, you're done. And the thing is though, with the Xbox controllers, I can throw away those packs and just pop in some batteries. Like if the charge just dies one day, I can get some batteries and I can be fine.
yeah,
The PlayStation 4 and the PlayStation 5 controller, if the battery pack dies, you have to get a whole new controller. And I'm not cool with that. And
no,
some
they're like $150 now.
Yeah, and some people are cool with it. Some people are cool where they like they don't have a bad experience, but we can only go on our experiences. And my experience has been when I have the option of going batteries, I typically it's better for me,
Yeah,
because then it's like, let's say I want to get another pack, but I don't have the money for it right now. I can afford more batteries, and I can still play.
right.
And seeing as how my job kind of revolves around playing games, I need to be able to do that. And so
Yeah,
I can't drop down 60, $70 for a new controller. I just need to like, but I can drop like $5 for some batteries,
Yeah,
or
you got rechargeable batteries too.
even better. You know what I mean? Like, and so and typically the batteries, I mean, if you get good ones, they last a long time. And so that's one thing I was kind of miffed about because I know like a lot of people, the Xbox or Microsoft, I should say, they announced their controller would still keep the optional,
Hmm.
and a lot of people were like kind of moaning about it. I'm like, no, this is a very good thing,
Yeah,
because if something happens, you have options. Options are
yeah.
better. You can still,
Flexibility, people.
yeah, you can still buy the battery pack, if you want, and you don't want to, buy batteries. But if something happens to it, you can buy another one. Whereas,
Hmm.
PS5, got to get a new controller.
That's honestly ridiculous, though. It's just, I mean, there are so many analogies that just came into my head, but I just want to be more simplistic about it. But it is like throwing out the baby with the bathwater. Like,
Yeah.
you've
All,
got this system that costs you $500 or whatever, and then you got these controllers. Like, if you got the regular controller, $60. But if you went to the lab and got your own controller built, you got the super extra cool one. I mean, I don't know
yeah.
about the PS the PlayStation controller costs anymore, but I do know like I on my Xbox, one of my because I have one of the special controllers, the white one with like the gold,
Right. I know what you're talking
and
about.
that one, the reason I bought it was because I felt like the Xbox controller was too slippery.
Mm,
So I got the one that had the black, almost the rubberized back to
right.
it. So it costs more money. It's not just a $60 one. I think it's like an $80 one or whatever. I just remember that I got a deal on it because when I bought my Xbox, I got it on like Black Friday. There was, and I told you that story. But anyway, we don't need to rehash my luck story. Just threw the receipt away, by the way. Anyway, that's not the point. 5 years, almost 5 years ago, and I just threw the receipt away. So, but if I want to go to the lab and then get the extra controller, the one with those things on the back, which I forgot what they're even called. I don't know
Okay.
those like gold, those triggers because it's made for either Need for Speed or what's the shooting game that everybody plays?
Oh, Halo. Oh,
Not
Call of
not even
Duty.
Halo, Call of Duty or one of those. So it's got like these extra triggers on the back. That one's like $125. So
Yep.
if I done paid $500 or whatnot for my system, and then I paid $125 for my special controller and maybe $80 for a controller that I know my friends are going to use or something like that, and then all of a sudden the battery dies and I got to go spend another $125 like every however many times this battery dies, that's asinine.
Yes, it's completely asinine. And 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 to be fair, like my PS4 controller has been fine. My PS3 controller, I did have issues with, and my Xbox controllers, when I had the battery packs, I had issues with. And
Mm.
so, yeah, it happens. There's and not even like in terms of years. Like there's some people who've had within the first year their battery, it didn't hold a charge. It didn't hold half
Yeah,
of a charge. And those are kind of rare, but it happens. And if
it
you're the
does.
person that it happens to, you're the one out of money. Regardless of how many people are championing the fact that it has a built-in battery, you are the one that's gonna have to pay for it.
Yeah.
Uh, you know what I mean? And so it's kind of sucky. And I wish they would have given the option, or at the very least had two different controllers I could choose from. One with the
Yeah.
option, one without.
Yeah, yeah. Give me the choice, people. Give me the choice. But they're like, no, we're making more money this way. Ha ha, capitalism.
I mean, well, if anything, they can make even more money because, like with Xbox, they have their own battery packs, and so they'll
Uh,
sell you that and a controller.
they
Like,
even have green batteries. Aren't there like green batteries in the Microsoft store or
I
something?
think so, yeah. So they're making money hand over fist, literally.
Yeah. They had to figure out a way to make money when those cell phones weren't selling.
Yeah. Oh God.
Just saying.
And it's always one of those things where someone has a good idea, but
Yeah.
because some other things didn't work out, it falls by the wayside. Like there's
Yeah.
things that they all do separately
Yeah.
that I think is really cool. And one of the things that I thought was interesting was when Microsoft and Sony announced that they were partnering up. Sony was going to be using Microsoft's cloud technology on the next system.
Mm-hmm.
um, I thought that was very smart. Like even though we're competitors, there's certain things that we can learn from each other from, because to be fair, or forward thinking, our existence helps.
Yeah.
Like having Microsoft here, kind of pushing us to be better helps. And so yeah, we want to the fact that they built up this cloud infrastructure that is awesome. We don't have to spend a ton of money in that field. We can kind of partner with them and still, have our own branding, have our own whatever, and it's a win-win. You know what I mean? Like they get money for building something that was great, and then
Yeah,
Sony gets to piggyback off of it without having to put in the money to build their own thing.
exactly.
Um, it's just smart. And then with crossplay being a big thing now, like, yeah, smart moves, smart moves. So
Yeah.
um, I applaud them for some of the things that they're doing. I can't wait to see what the PS5 looks like
Yeah.
and get it. I really want to look at the games. I know that E3 was canceled,
Yeah.
so everyone is trying to do a digital such like for instance Nintendo does the Nintendo Directs, and they show a line of games and they have like a pre-recording video where they kind of talk about them and stuff like that. So that's what everyone's going to be doing. So I'm looking forward to covering those things when that happens.
Hmm.
um, but as far as purchasing, I am not looking for. I just bought a roof, fam. I'm not looking forward to purchasing a PS5 controller. I'm not.
Yeah. I
I
mean,
mean a system.
you got to figure out what's important in life because you could get that. You could have been like, you know what, hun, kids, we just gonna deal with that leaking just a little bit longer, just through the holiday season, so that we can get this PS5, and we'll just make sure that we put an umbrella over the TV and the PS5, so that just saying, and then everybody's like,
Cause I wouldn't have had to worry about any leaking because I would be living outside.
that would have happened because everything that just happened was actually like the fantasy before you said it out loud, and then your wife, my cuz, looked at you in the face real hard, and there was like an eye. It was like a twinkle, but it wasn't just a twinkle, it was the phoenix. You saw it and then you were like, I didn't even have that thought. What are we talking about again? And then a new roof got on your house, and that's where we are now.
Yes, yes. Nope, nope. I do, and like I said, there's always a side of me that's like, I want the next new. It's
Yeah.
exciting. It's
New
new
now
stuff.
next.
New phone, well, not car. I'm not getting any cars, but new phone, new system, new PC.
Yeah.
Those things are exciting.
Yeah.
But I would rather they push it back a little bit.
Yeah.
Even with Corona, maybe next November. I'm fine with that. I'm
I'm fine with
totally fine. Let me catch up a little bit more before we go that route. Oh, one cool thing though, before we move on, I don't know if Sony's doing this, but I know Xbox is doing it where if you have Xbox One games, they will all play on the Xbox One X.
it.
Your controllers will be you can use your old controllers on the new console. Actually,
Okay.
all the peripherals on the new console. And if you purchase certain games on the Xbox One before the X comes out, the Series X comes out, you will automatically get that version, the new version on the system if you purchase it. So like
Hmm.
if you buy a digital version of Cyberpunk, even though that's not a Microsoft game, the CD Projekt Red was like, we will give you the spruced up version on the
Yeah.
console, which is freaking awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome because, it's not cool to like buy a game on the system and then the new system comes out and then you have to buy the new game. Like, and it's the exact same price. It's like, man, I just spent $120 on the exact same game.
Yeah, like no. And especially with Cyberpunk, and a lot of games getting pushed back now, they're going to be releasing along around the new consoles. And
Yeah.
so it just makes sense. Like, you don't have the money to upgrade right now. You want to upgrade a little bit later. Keep your games. You don't have to trade them in or whatever.
Yeah.
You'll either get the new versions or you'll be able just to play them on the new console.
Yeah.
That's freaking awesome. So at the very least, they're doing that for me.
Yeah.
Um,
For
yeah.
you.
Yes, for me. Something else we wanted to talk about was EA announced that they are doing something nice.
Mm,
They are doing a tournament on FIFA 20.
nah.
I want to say through the April 15th to the 19th, and as a part of their Stay Home Play Together COVID-19 charity relief campaign, they will have 20 actual footballers, so pro soccer players, to play the game in a tournament. and people will be able to see it. And I don't know if they'll be able to donate while that's going on, but EA itself will be donating $1 million to Global Giving's uh, Corona Relief Fund, which I
Nice.
thought was freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Um, they're also doing tournaments in some of their other titles like Apex Legends and Madden, where they actually have pros and other players jumping in to put on a show, if you will,
Mm.
to generate money. And I thought that was kind of cool.
Good job,
It's
EA.
yeah, a lot of companies are, and not to say that this isn't a ploy in and of itself, but a lot of companies are doing things where like they're acknowledging that the frontline workers in their stores or whatever the case, they're doing things like showing a commercial where they're like, "Yay!" and "Thanks for helping us," and that's it essentially. Or they're doing things where it's more beneficial for them, like it looks good on paper. Charity. A lot of that is tax. You can write that off in your taxes. You
Hmm.
know, at the same time, it's like it is what it is, but like they're doing something that's positive
Yeah.
and it's helpful in a sense because people will get a kick out of seeing this,
Mm.
and a lot of money will be generated for a good cause,
Uh-huh.
and we're entertained,
Yeah.
and you can't really ask for more, even if there's something dubious underneath it. For the most part, it's pretty solid. It's
Yeah.
not like you have to pay to watch them. It's not like you have to do anything really. I don't think they're going to be selling anything, but unless it's something where like you're supporting the player, and that money
Yeah.
goes to also to the relief fund. Outside of that, they're not selling anything. Yeah, this is great,
Yeah. Entertainment.
which
Free.
is something we need.
Yeah, because people are starting to get tired of doing the same thing. I was definitely getting tired of cleaning my room over and over for the last week and a half. I'm I am not finished, but I have passed a milestone. So yeah, we need entertainment in other ways.
Yeah, and it's funny saying that we need more entertainment. In a sense, I saw a meme where someone was like, "Yeah, I saw Netflix. I'm waiting for Netflix Part 2 to come out."
I can't. I can't.
And I was like, I get it, I get it. Although I have a ton of shows that I need to catch up on. I totally get it.
Can you
Totally.
imagine though? Like, I mean, I know we've all been home for like, I obviously I've been home longer than anybody. No one, I mean, no, you've been home longer than anybody, but I'm like, but I'm like, for people who have just now started really being home, like March or end of February, and it's like, okay, I'm home. Can you imagine actually completing the Netflix catalog? At that, besides the fact that that's next to impossible in a 1 month period, like you would have to be awake for 23 hours every day. But seriously, like let's say this goes on for much longer, and you complete the Netflix catalog. That's
That's sad.
that's sad. Not
Um,
not just for the people actually doing that, but I'm like, you really may have nothing else to do. You really may not. Like honestly, you may not even be working. You may just getting be paid at home. You may not getting be paid at all. Like, okay, my English didn't make any sense there. It doesn't matter. But you could just have nothing to do, and you just complete the Netflix catalog, and then you find somebody's HBO password and you complete the HBO catalog, and then you're just like, what have I done? That's a man, man.
yeah, you gotta space it out. Like treat it like it's real TV. Watch one episode and then wait a week.
Yeah, they'll be like, yo, I don't know how long I'm gonna be. I don't know what my day is gonna look like tomorrow, but since Terrace House came out finally, I am watching that. I want to know how Terrace House filming was affected with COVID.
Dude, speaking of which, the director of the Batman film was talking about how they had to push back, production,
Yeah.
and that it was kind of sad because I think one of their crew members ended up passing away from
Oh,
Corona,
that's bad.
and they weren't sure if so far no one else has caught in it on the the
Yeah.
cast or anything, and so they don't know if it was something that happened when they all met up to shoot or
Yeah.
not. But it was like they were like, you know what, it's but shortly before that they were like, we're gonna hold on everything. We're just gonna keep be safe and whatnot. But and then that happened. It was like, dang, like not to say they didn't do it fast enough, but it was like, man, like people didn't realize how crazy stuff was
Yeah.
early on. So like, talking about how like they really want to get in there and finish it, especially for for the person that passed away, and they want to complete the project. They had a
Yeah.
vision and they want to get it done, but the fact that they have to still be away from everyone
Yeah.
has made things rough, and not just for movie studios and stuff like that, but then you also have indie studios in the gaming world where
Yeah.
they and granted some of them were okay in the sense that they worked separately online.
Oh, okay.
um, but then when it comes to sales, there's a short bump in sales because people are at home, but then after a while sales stop because people are like, you know what, I don't know how long we're going to be home,
Yeah.
and I might need this money for food or something
Yeah.
else. And so, the bigger the bigger studios, they have, or I should say the publishers, they have millions, like EA's donating $1 million, you know what I mean? They can kind of sit a little more comfortable. If you're an indie dev of like 10 people, uh, you have no work.
I
You know what I
know.
mean? So
You
that's
know
kind
what?
of,
You know what I just thought about? Like, I mean, I thought about this at other times, just not this time. But you know how like the government's like, okay, we're gonna give you some stimulus money, we're gonna give you a little bit of money because we know you're struggling. I'm just gonna say this. I've been a government employee. The government's broke. Okay. The government's broke. The government's in debt. The government sucks when it comes to money. Okay. It just does. I know, obviously, yeah, they're gonna give us money, we pay taxes, whatever, blah. I kind of just want some of these billionaire companies, like these billion-dollar companies, and I know they're like, oh, we're going to donate this to COVID relief. Can y'all just do a stimulus check? What if, like, the top 100 multi-million dollar companies that made profits, companies that are still making profits right now, right? What if they just dolled out a couple, some money to everybody? Like, you know what? 300 something million Americans, here's $500.
I mean, the amount of that, it would be a stupid amount of money,
Yeah,
but I think that if they got together on it, I
yeah,
think that's something that they could definitely do, or at the very least, pay your workers more. I
uh,
heard that, like for instance, and this was something I thought I was curious of. Is there something that can go on um, once we're out of this situation? So
yeah,
like Target and a few other places were like, we're gonna pay our people like $2 an hour more, or something like. So Target went up to like $15 an hour, or something like that, and they're gonna pay all of them, for the time that they're working because they're risking their lives and stuff like that. But then I'm wondering, like, can't they just have that on a regular? Like, is it something
yeah,
where you have an influx of money because a lot of people are flocking to the stores to get things to stay alive? Or is it that this is regular money
yeah,
and you can afford it? If you can afford it, how about you just pay them that?
yeah,
Um, because it's not so much in like we just want to give like a raise, uh, just randomly. But I mean, like, it would be nice to have a livable wage or a decent wage in these places, especially now, in
now that people
reflection.
know how important they are, it's like,
Exactly, like with what's happening now, it's like we know how important they are. They're still important on a regular basis. Like th- their their importance is thrown in our faces, kind of, because of what's happening and how they still have to be out there with Corona. But on a regular day,
mm-hmm,
in order to get groceries, in order to get the stuff that you need, in order to get entertainment
yeah,
that's outside of your house, these people have to work for you.
yep,
Like they're still serving you. They're still important. And I don't think you shouldn't have a decent life or be able to afford different decent things just because you work at Target. Like that's
exactly.
especially when the heads of Target are making a stupid amount of money. Um,
Killing, a killing. A killing.
like it's crazy.
I agree. I agree.
Anywho, we were supposed to chill, so we're not gonna talk too much about Corona.
Oh,
um,
Jonah.
uh, so I just wanted to talk about what's some favorite games that we've played. over the years,
Yeah.
and kind of what they meant to us, and what was going on when we were playing those games. One of them for me is real easy, and it's Super Mario Brothers 3.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Everything from the movie The Wiz
Yep.
to uh, just how good of a game it is, to the fact that I was when I first
Wait, was
started
it called
playing.
Wiz or the Wiz Kid? It's called the
Was
Wiz
it The
Kid.
Wiz? Yeah, The Wiz Kid.
The
I
Wiz
think
Kid.
the
Yeah.
the Wiz is with Michael Jackson.
Michael Jackson.
Uh, not that movie.
We
The
should do
Wiz Kid.
a collaboration movie.
Oh my gosh, Fred Savage and Michael going.
Oh
Yeah,
my,
that's crazy.
that would be crazy.
No, the Wiz. Yeah, Wiz Kid. And finding out the secrets through that movie, some secrets that were cool, like getting the whistle to take
Yep.
you, far away land and whatnot. The
How did
different.
you figure that out?
It was the movie.
No,
Uh,
I'm saying the kid, like the game had never been played before.
it's it. What that's it. The movie was to sell the game essentially. So it was kind of like, look what we have here. Yeah, no one would have figured that out at
I'm
all.
like, I know the kid was autistic and everything, but I'm like, I mean, dude, that was just straight mind bending, telepathic, futuristic
Yeah,
mind powers. Come on, dude.
Nintendo passed him a tips and tricks or a Nintendo power and was like, go at it.
Yo.
Um, but yeah, like, and so it worked for me because I was already a huge Mario fan, and I was like,
Yeah.
this I gotta get this, I gotta play this game. And it was also cool because when I first started playing, I didn't own it. A cousin of mine did,
Yeah.
uh, who's very dear to me, and so playing with them was great because it was like the older cousin who doesn't necessarily spend time with me a whole lot before then, but then we
Yeah.
were started spending a ton of time together playing Mario. Um, and then outside of that, of it being a almost like a revolutionary game in platforming,
Mhm.
in and of itself, and the things that you could do in the game, everything from the themes, you have Giant Land, Waterland, whatever,
Mhm.
Skyland, to like how the mechanics play out and how that bled into other games, like
Yeah.
the special suits that he wore, like the Tanuki suit.
Tanuki suit was the best.
Yeah, it's like so many good memories with that game, and it's one Mario game that I've actually owned on multiple consoles or systems,
Hmm.
and I will probably buy it for the Switch or whatever. Like if it wasn't already there on their they have it for if you own like the online pass, like you can play it like some of the older games. If they didn't have it there, I would probably would have bought it. Uh,
Yeah.
Definitely a fun game, one of my favorite games of all time, actually. Uh,
Yeah.
it's just great.
I agree with you, and I loved it so much. And like how I told you, like when I was growing up, I wasn't good at video games really, and like the Nintendo that we had was my brother's. It was a gift for him. I can't remember if it was. I think it was Christmas. He got that as a Christmas gift. It was his Nintendo, but he had to share it. Like he had to let us play. So like, yes, we played and stuff like that, but it just being a girl and being the youngest one, it's like I didn't get a lot of time to play, and so I never really honed those skills. It was like I remember playing with friends being like, "Why are you going so slow?" I'm like, "Because like I don't do this every day like you do. Y'all have Nintendos in your room." Like that's my life. That's not, y'all got multiple systems in your effing rooms. I'm like, I have a flattened basketball. All right, we don't have a pump right now. The needle's broken. Like that's how my life is. But anyway, so moving on, I remember getting older and having the game and playing it by myself, and obviously realizing how crappy I was, but getting better, doing my thing. But when you're not really good at a game, and then you learn the cheats. I shouldn't say cheats, but you find how to get the whistles, right? So you know how
Right.
to get to the end of the game. You can bypass anything you want. You just need to get to this point, bypass all this other crap, and get to the end of the game and then beat it so you can tell all your friends you beat it, right?
Yeah.
But because I loved the water world so much, like I would just go there and I was gonna die. I never like I always mess up there. Everything's big and I always mess up. I always die there, but I didn't care because I loved that world so much. I loved it. and everything, like everything was so big, and I was just like, this is so awesome. This is so much fun. This is where I got the most joy out of the game. So, I don't remember beating it. I think I did. Yeah, because at the end, like Bowser has to jump through the things and then you just make a hole and then he dies.
Yeah.
I remember watching my brother beat that for the first time. But yeah, I'm with you on that one. That game was awesome.
Yeah, I did the same thing. Like after I was able to beat it, I would go to Giant Land. That was my favorite.
Yeah, I love
Um,
Plan.
Something about the just having the huge sprites,
Yeah.
um, the huge enemies and stuff was just really, really cool, and the giant blocks and whatnot. Uh, and so being able to use the Tanuki suit to like fight
Yeah.
back, like you can pop up the shelled guys and knock them away,
Yep.
and yeah, it was great. Like, um, definitely one of my favorite games. Um, Another one. Well, actually, what's one of your favorite games?
Um so I'll fast forward to PlayStation. Tomb Raider is still, like one of my favorite games of all time. And obviously I have favorite games on Nintendo, obviously, like Kid Icarus. But the reason why I love Tomb Raider so much is because the game made you think. It wasn't just about going in a straight line. It wasn't just about, like jumping on top of turtles, really big turtles. Like it was about thinking. And so when I played Chronicles was the first one that I played. Actually, I kind of went backwards. And my friend who had already beat the game he brought over his Sega Dreamcast, and he brought it to our dorm room and would let us play. So Marvel vs. Capcom was the first game I played on there. So we used to play Marvel vs. Capcom 2 and Tomb Raider. Those were the two games we had. Those are the two games we played. So those are literally still two of my all-time favorite games. But Tomb Raider, what I loved about it was that it made you think. And I remember going through that first part and him not saying anything, like him just smiling at us while we're sitting there trying to play and looking like fools because we're dying or we're not getting anything right. And then he's like, it took me a week to get through this part. And he's like, I'll give you a hint. And then obviously with a hint, you were able to get it done in maybe 2 hours or 3 hours instead of taking a whole 7 days. But
Right.
I appreciated how much obviously thought and effort went into making such a puzzle game. Like, uh, it's one thing to have skeletons come alive and have to shoot them or run away from them, but just to get from one part of the game to the other, it wasn't about like I said, it wasn't about jumping on top of a bird or getting a power up. It was just like, how can you make it through this next section? I think in Last Revelation, you were supposed to get from one part of the tomb to the next, and the floor was like flammable liquid or something,
Yeah.
and it was like, well, if you set it on fire, you can't go through it. If you step in it, you're gonna get sick and die. But you had to like cross in certain. It was almost like Indiana Jones in the Last Crusade when he had to spell Jehovah to
Oh
get to
yeah.
the other side, and it was the same idea. Obviously, in the Last Revelation, Indiana Jones is also dead in the beginning of the game. Oh wait, no, that's Chronicles when he's dead in the beginning of the game, right? Wait,
Yes, yes.
yeah, Chronicles. So I think I just appreciated the fact that it was a smart game. You had to have some semblance of intelligence to actually play the game, which is also why some people I know are like, I don't like this game, it's dumb. Sips tea.
uh, yeah, Tomb Raider's always been. I mean, that's definitely a staple
Yeah.
in gaming. Um, One of mine was well, actually, this is my favorite game on the PlayStation 1, like period.
Uh-huh.
Uh, Made by Square. Well, it was SquareSoft at the time, but Square Enix.
Where
Uh,
yeah.
Brave Fencer Musashi, and
Oh,
yes,
Musashi.
awesome action role playing game, and it feels it combines a lot of different other games, I guess, into one. It has a little bit of like so the character is summoned to this world, or yeah, to this world by a princess, and she's looking for like a legendary hero, but she ends up summoning Musashi. He is a hero, but he's like in the training or like young. He's not like where he's supposed to be yet.
Uh-huh.
They kind of messed up a little bit in getting him to that realm, and
Yeah.
so his job is to help her free her people from this group that uses they're like mechanical. They use like robots and like steam-based robots and stuff that
Hmm.
kind of take over. And he fights with two swords. One of them is like a big sword that like does a ton of damage. Another one is like a small sword
Hmm.
where he can use to steal people's or enemies' abilities, kind of like Mega Man.
Okay.
The cool thing is that the katana that steals it, it doesn't have to be a boss. It could be almost any character in the game. He can take their abilities and then use them either to solve puzzles or to give him more powers. Um, and it swaps based on like if you grab someone else, you take their power or whatever. And so it was really interesting because not only was the story really cool, the character designs and stuff like that, because Square makes really cool characters and stories, but then the gameplay, where you're stealing all these different abilities and doing all these different things to where you have like a small amount of moves or abilities, and then it blows up because now you're looking for bad guys. Like, oh, I wonder what he can do if I take his power, because it's usually translated in a interesting way. For instance, there's a character that's kind of like a spring, and when you take his power, it allows you to kind of like use the katana like a pogo stick almost,
Oh, wow.
and so
Interesting.
you bounce up and down, and what that does is it allows you to go to places where the ground isn't as safe to walk on, and so you can bounce up there and find other collectibles or abilities or whatever, um, by using his move. And it's like, man, I didn't even think about that. The same thing with bosses. Some of the bosses will have special abilities that if you take them during the fight, you can kind of turn the tables on them in interesting ways. And so it was just a immensely fun game to play,
Yeah.
and I think I've beaten it like so many times. Like I still own it now,
Okay.
and I liked it so much that when the sequel came out on PlayStation 2, I bought it. And even though it's not as good as the first one, I like it just because it's related to the first game.
Yeah. 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 I hear you on that. You're like, yeah, I'm gonna play this game because it reminds. It's just, I just thought of like Marvel vs. Capcom 3 and how disappointed I was.
I think everyone was disappointed. Yeah, no,
I'm sorry. I'm like, Marvel vs. Capcom 2 was amazing. It was amazing. Two dimensional, awesome. It's all it needed to be. It's great. And it had it had great players. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care what anybody says. I don't. Come at me, bro. I don't care what anybody says. These characters are bomb. How you gonna make Marvel vs. Capcom 3 without Rogue? Okay, because first of all, she's like one of my favorite X-Men anyway. And so you're gonna like take Rogue away from me and Gambit, my hotness. Like, what are you doing? I mean, I know people are like Gambit's worthless. I do not care. When you played with Gambit on Marvel vs. Capcom 2, he played with his stick, which he rarely used in the show. Like in the show, it was just always the cards. But
right,
that it's almost like people didn't realize that Gambit's ability wasn't just that he had some cards. Cards were easy to carry around. He had the ability to turn whatever he held in his hand into basically a projectile, a fiery projectile, you know? And so I like the fact that he played with, I mean, it's called a bow, is it not? It's not a stick, it's a bow.
yeah.
Um, and I used to use him, Rogue and Storm on my little triple X-Men team. They lost a lot, but I beat the game with Rogue. You got to use Cable though, because Cable just shoots his gun everywhere, and you can win. But that game was so much fun, so much fun. I thought the animations were awesome, the voices were fun, and then we got Marvel vs. Capcom 3 with a bunch of characters that were cheating. First of all, Dante cheats. Dante
Oh man.
straight cheats. And it was whack. I mean, I own Marvel vs. Capcom Ultimate version. I was just playing it the other day, and I can't beat that game because I'm really not that good. But I can't beat it. I think I get to what, like level. I don't even know if I get to level 8. Is there a level 8? Like, I don't know where I get, but I just keep dying, and I'm like, well, screw this. I miss Ruby Heart. I do. She used to come out with that big old ship.
Yeah.
And Sonson. I've been wanting to be Ruby Heart for like Halloween because I just like that outfit with that big hat. I have a thing for pirate hats. That's why I loved Captain Hook. But Sonson, the monkey.
Yeah, there was some really cool characters in it. I mean, granted, the ultimate version of MVC3 had a ton of characters, some of which we've never seen in a fighting game before,
Oh.
like Doctor Strange, Iron Fist, Nova, Rocket Raccoon. But it still was. I didn't like the controls as much.
No.
I didn't like the X Factor because I thought it was broken,
I
especially
don't
if
know.
you were using Wesker. Oh my gosh, like lose two of your characters, get Wesker, hit X Factor, you can destroy an entire team. I've done it so many times. And then it got really, really broken with the Phoenix um, in Ultimate 3. And like it got to a point where there was like certain characters were way more viable than others. And I
Yeah.
mean, Phoenix gets all of her when she dies. If you have, I want to say 3 super bars, if she dies, she gets all of uh, her life back because she's the Phoenix. Like she comes back a second time.
Wow.
And granted, she's only around like you have a limited time to kill your opponent when that happens,
Yeah.
but she still gets all her life back. Like it's like it's come on. Like I wasn't I and it sucked because there was some cool like I love Super Scroll.
Mhm.
The fact that because I don't think the Fantastic Four I don't think they've ever been in a fighting game like this. They
Yeah.
need to be.
Yeah.
And the fact that he was there was like, okay, I have the Fantastic Four in theory. Like he has all of their abilities. This is dope. And he had some really cool abilities, like really cool moves. Um, they wrecked Jill from
Oh,
Resident Evil.
what did they do to Jill?
I was so angry. I was like, what is this? Why?
Jill was
Why
my
would you do that?
girl.
I get the inclusion of this particular version because of Resident Evil 5 at that point, but I don't want. No, she doesn't fight the way I would like her to fight.
I missed
Um,
her little dagger and the stuff that she used to do in number two.
yeah, and so yeah, I felt the way about 3, and I didn't even. Granted, Infinite Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite plays well for the most part. I don't like the Power Stones, but it looks like crap. Like I can we just get a Marvel vs. Capcom 4 that's like a solid. Give me
Yeah.
Marvel vs. Capcom 2 gameplay, Marvel vs. Capcom 3 visuals,
Yeah.
and certain characters, and I'll be fine. Like I
Yeah.
just shouldn't have to pay more for Black Panther when he's like the biggest thing since sliced bread when he came out. Like,
Seriously.
why would you do this to me?
Because they were like,
uh,
"We want more money."
yeah,
Capcom.
and trying to get all the money, you got none of the money, at least from me.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, screw them. Anyways, yeah, MVC2 is dope. I played that a lot.
Yeah.
I
That was
played.
college.
I still play that a little bit here and there.
I don't
Um,
have it. I have a Dreamcast, which I haven't hooked up because I don't have any games. I never bought any games. I bought the Dreamcast from this store that used to sell like stuff that really shouldn't have been sold in US because it was region coded and they were like selling, you
oh,
know,
that was so many stores.
stuff, so many stores. Not necessarily the one I used to work in,
Mm.
but but this one, I mean, they got shut down. They got raided. So they
Oh God.
got but I bought a Dreamcast, and I bought the Dreamcast actually because I had heard that Berserk was on the Dreamcast system, and I wanted to play Berserk because one of my friends had said, obviously, since Berserk, the way Berserk ends, you don't get to see what happens after, the fall.
Right.
I think that last episode was called The Fall, right? Or I don't know, whatever.
I
Doesn't matter.
believe so.
But you don't get to see what happens, and your hearts are broken for what happened. So I was like, they said, oh, the game starts off with Guts looking for Casca. And I was like, oh, like, I don't know. My friend was like, oh yeah, you need to play the game. It gives you more information on what happens. And I was like, okay. So I got my Dreamcast, and then I never got the game ever.
Uh,
In fact, I didn't get any games. So there's a Dreamcast controller, no Dreamcast save pack. Like, basically, I have a system that doesn't work because I do not have a save pack. So I don't even. I mean, I'm sure I could find one on eBay somewhere, but I'm not even trying to do all that.
Man,
Right?
I man, Dreamcast. I still have ours. Interesting enough, I don't have the power cable, I think, or is it the cable that goes to the TV?
Uh
Something happened. It between me and my brother. I don't know if we let someone borrow it and they didn't give us all the pieces back.
huh.
But yeah, I need to get that up and running again. Because there's the Dreamcast had a lot of awesome games,
It did.
and I guess it was just ahead of it too, ahead of its time because it eventually died.
It died.
Um,
I just feel like, I mean, I know obviously they came out with the Xbox very close. Well, not like close in release time, but it was like the Dreamcast was there, and it was like, oh my God, we love this, da da da. But then Microsoft was like, well, we're just going to create the Xbox, and which they did. And the controller is similar. It's like I guess Microsoft just took all of its IP and just decided. I don't know the story behind that.
well, well, Sega was already kind of in a rough spot, anyways. Like I think the Dreamcast was like the last hurrah,
Yeah.
regardless.
Yeah.
Even though it did well. I mean, when they were, I think it was the Sega Saturn or Sega CD. Like when they were announced at E3, they didn't tell anybody that it was coming out, and so a lot of developers were like, they didn't have any games for it because they're like, we didn't know. You just get drop a bomb on us and expect us to have games for it,
Yeah.
and then they were getting battered around by the PlayStation
Yeah.
when it came into pricing and stuff like that. So when they finally got around to the Dreamcast, it was like, okay, if this doesn't work, we're just gonna stick to video games. And it was a solid system. It had really good ideas, forward-thinking ideas.
Mhm.
Even though Nintendo had a prototype in terms of online gameplay, and the PlayStation had online gameplay, none of them were as good as the Dreamcast at the time in
Yeah.
terms of online. There was a lot of interesting, and then the same thing with the battery packs and things that they were doing. There was a lot of innovative things, but I just think the pricing, the how they advertised it, and certain games, especially when the Xbox dropped, it was just like, man, like it's hard to compete. Um,
Yeah.
and I don't think Sega utilized a lot of their selling points. Like they did really well with Sonic.
Yeah.
They had, they branched off with like House of the Dead. They brought their arcade games home, which was
Mhm.
smart. But I think in terms of like new IPs, they didn't do a ton of that, and I think that kind of hurt them a little bit.
Yeah, I would say. Mhm.
Um, and so it just, and mismarketing, things like that. Like it was unfortunate. But yeah, as far as like getting games and playing, eBay is the best right now, because people are. My friend of mine was able to find some like really hard games, but not super expensive though, which
Okay.
was really cool.
Well, that's clearly where I'm gonna go. I mean, I should try to go find Kid Icarus because wasn't it like somebody had a unopened, never played version? I mean, never played Nintendo Kid Icarus and sold it for like $75,000 or something.
Something like that.
I mean, that's insane. First of all, that was my game. I love that game. Um, God, I'm just looking. I'm imagining the graphics, not looking, but imagining the graphics on our little, cube square TV thing that we had back then. It was in color, luckily, and playing these old games, and like, these were the type of games that if you died, you had to start over from the beginning. You didn't just get to pick right back up from where you left off. You had to
Yeah,
go way far back. Like, you had 3 lives and that was it.
yeah. You had to love a game, because that's typically. I mean, especially if you weren't able to purchase a bunch of games, which
Yeah.
the pricing would go from anywhere from 60 up depending on what it was, especially if it looked fancy, right? Like when Zelda came out, had the gold
Oh my God.
cartridge or
Yeah.
whatever. So yeah, so like you had to pay more. So like if you got the game, then unless you rented it, you like you're stuck. You're sitting with it. You're gonna play, even
Yeah.
if you beat the game. We're up. Let's start it again because it's all I got.
Okay.
Uh, so yeah, you had to kind of really love the games that you have, and games like Kid Icarus, where Kid Icarus itself wasn't necessarily my jam, but games similar to it,
Hmm.
there were they were tough in a way that's a little different from nowadays.
Hmm.
And at the same time, though, they didn't take hours and hours and hours to beat.
Yeah.
You could actually sit and play through a whole game in one sitting, which is still cool. And speaking of which, you can still play Kid Icarus on the Switch, which is great.
Oh
Anywho,
wow.
but yeah, like games like that, I them selling it nowadays would probably be tough, difficult now because Nintendo's emulating a lot of their games. But
Mm.
having a physical copy, yeah, it's really based on what what's going at that moment in time. I mean, there's some games that are just rare regardless. And then
Yeah.
there's some that are like will kind of come in season of rareness. Like, you
Oh
know
yeah.
what, we're just trying to get into Kid Icarus for whatever reason. And can't find it anywhere. And so, it ended up, you end up selling it. Like recently, actually last year, a kid sold an open game of Kid Icarus. A Nintendo cartridge or whatever. He
Mhm.
sold it for $9,000.
Wow.
Um, and that's like I said, you could play Kid Icarus right now emulated. So it's one of those things where like if a collector wants it bad enough,
Yeah.
uh, you can definitely yeah you can make some money.
I have a bunch of Nintendo games, just regular NES games. They're under my bed. My Nintendo's under my bed.
This would be a great time to play them.
I gotta figure out how to hook it up. I don't
Oh
think
right, TVs are
yeah,
different.
I don't think I have the cables and like my Nintendo, well again, it was my brother's. That one had the problem of shutting off. So I guess it
Oh,
got to a certain age and it just shut off. So I know a friend of mine more recently ended up getting he bought one. I don't know where he got it and it was like refurbished or some nonsense, but he
hmm.
got one. He said it cost him a nice amount of money. But my Nintendo it used to shut off. So like you could be playing a game and getting through it, which was not easy for me. And here I am getting through the game, and I'm like, yay, oh my God, I might actually win. Like, I might beat this. And then it would start flashing.
Oh, that's rough.
Yeah, completely rough. That happened when I was playing Mick Kids. McDonald's had that game called Mick Kids.
Oh yeah, I
Um,
remember that.
I was so pissed off because I used to never get far in that game because I had to play it with my friend. I think it was her game. and and I always had to play it with her, and so I like never got anywhere. And she was one who always wanted to be in charge and play. And so like I don't know somehow. Oh yeah, she gave me her Nintendo games because she had a Nintendo, and then I think she got a Super Nintendo, and then she got a Sega. She had she always got new stuff. And so I think when we were like older teenagers, by the like I guess getting close to like going to college age, she it was either then or during college she like gave me her Nintendo games. She was like, "Oh, here, you can have these," because she didn't want them anymore. And I think that was one of them. So
She's kicking herself right now.
no, she doesn't care. She doesn't care.
Shoot, she's coroned up with no games.
Hey,
Hmm.
she got her son. They have a I don't know what game system I think they have Xbox, and Nintendo Switch because she's got a kid. She's got a 9-year-old. So so she's good and a brand new baby anyway. So they're fine. But I'm sitting here like, should I try to hook? No, I can't hook it up. I don't have any cords. But I got Excite Bike down there. I got Super Spike V Ball.
Oh, nice.
Yo, that game was the bomb. You remember Double Dribble?
Yes.
Oh God, Double Dribble. You had to wait for the little circle to hit the rim so you can shoot the free throw.
Yes.
Oh man, I think I was bad at every part of that game. So yeah,
But some of the games are like really good in terms of using their limitations,
yeah,
like to make something fun. Because I could imagine how difficult making a basketball game was at that time.
yeah,
I know like football was seemed just really rough with granted I love Super Tecmo Bowl, but yeah, like compared to Madden, it was like night and day on two different I don't know planets. Like it was nuts.
yeah.
But yeah, like let's see, classic games. I liked on the Super Nintendo. I liked Zombies Ate My Neighbors. Great game. I've never beaten it because it's ridiculously hard. Uh,
Some
not so
people
much.
neighbors.
Yeah, not so much. The Sega had a version too. They had they also had that version, but they also had another one because Sega had to be different. And so, um, but it's you basically have two kids who
Uh-huh.
look like, I don't know, like out of the 80s. I don't. It's like a mash of 80s and 90s. They have like weird. They have like 3D glasses, like the old paper 3D glasses.
Yeah.
Snapback hat. Like it's all over the place.
Wow.
But gameplay wise, each level you would have to go and rescue your neighbors, and they would be doing innocuous things like being in the pool. There's like a cheerleader jumping on a trampoline. There's a guy who's in the back cooking. Like they seem oblivious to the monsters that are around them, and
Wow.
essentially, in the level it's like a big. They're not really. I don't want to say mazes, but it's an open world kind of like level,
Uh-huh.
and or like an open map, and you go around and you save them, and you basically just touch them, and they like beam away before the monsters do. And the monsters usually don't attack them right away. The game allows you to kind of see the neighbor
Uh-huh.
before the monsters come, so it gives you a
Uh-huh.
little time to actually save them. And you save all the, at least save at least one neighbor. You have to save at least one in each level to go to, and you have to find an exit door, kind of like Bill and Ted, and like beam your way out to the next level.
Yeah.
Um, but what was really cool was that each monster in the game was susceptible to a different weapon, and it was all kind of movie themed in a way.
Hmm.
So for instance, you would fight against like these Gillette blob like characters, and you would use to kill them you would use ice cream pops, because in the movie, yeah, in the movie The Blob, it was cold. Like it couldn't stand cold temperatures, and so
Uh-huh.
you would throw ice cream pops at it, and that's how you killed that. Um, if there was werewolves, you have to use silver bullets. Um, if you were fighting, there had these little dolls that look like Chuckies.
Yeah.
You had to use water guns because water kills the robotic mechanics of it or whatever.
Wow.
Um,
Smart though.
and but then there were certain enemies that you couldn't kill. You just had to run away from.
Mhm.
And there's like these guys. They're called I think they're called the gardeners, but they look like Jason. They have like the hockey mask, and they
Yeah.
have a chainsaw, and they basically chase you. And if you attack them, you can knock them down for a few seconds, and then they get back up. Um, and so you basically have to run away from them.
Mm.
Um, but because in certain levels there were actual mazes, like there's like a giant hedge mage that's reminiscent of The Shining,
Mm.
and but the hockey mask wearing guys, they can just cut through the maze with their
Oh,
chainsaws,
yeah.
and so they can go directly and kill the people. So you have to be really quick in those levels. But I think there was over 50 levels,
Wow.
and each I want to say each fifth level had a boss, or 10th level had a boss,
Uh-huh.
and it was uh it was really fun, and it wasn't something that you would sit in one evening and beat. You would play to a certain point, and then they would give you like a code for that level, so you could
Hmm.
come back later on, or if you died you can start back at that point. But it was really fun. It was cooperative. You could play with a friend, and just have a great time fighting all these different monsters. I think what made it difficult was when you got to the levels where it was an assortment of monsters. So
Mm.
like you would have the blobs, the Chucky dolls, um, werewolves, vampires, whatever the case may be, and so you have to switch to those weapons. So you have like this huge loadout after a while, and you're like, crap, I need the gun with the holy water, or I need the cross, or I need the whatever, and like so you're like trying to switch back and forth to kill the monsters before you can proceed, and it gets kind of crazy. At one point though, they have you can drink the potion, kind of like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde type of thing,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it turns you into a monster, and that at that point you're invincible for a little while. Uh, but yeah, it's a fun game, like totally fun game.
Yeah.
I recommend it if you have a Super Nintendo, or you can find it emulated somewhere, hopefully legally, uh, or just watch video of it. It's a fun game.
Yeah. It sounds fun. I mean, it sounds silly. Super Nintendo was fun. I don't remember much games on the Super Nintendo because I didn't have one. I had to play my friends, and I don't remember when did Mario Kart come? Was that on 64?
It was first on Super Nintendo, and then came to Mario's. Yeah, Mario Kart 64 came out on the 64.
Okay, yeah. Mario Kart was awesome. That
Yes.
changed my life.
Oh,
It did. It did. It changed my life because it changed my opinion of Super Mario Brothers. Because obviously, Super Mario Brothers for our generation really was the benchmark. That was the game.
right,
Everybody played it. You first of all, you can't have a Nintendo and not play it. It came with the freaking system.
right,
Like you had to play Super Mario Brothers. Everybody talked about it. Everybody either beat it or didn't, or everybody talked about it at some point in time. It was part of our childhood. It's our culture
right.
for our people in our age group. And so like I told you, it was hard for me to play. Like I wasn't that good at it, and I had to share. So it's not like I got a lot of one-on-one time playing this game. And so I didn't really get the opportunity to actually get good at it until I was already an adult. And by that time, like I said, I had a flashy Nintendo. There's a reason why I got the Nintendo. My brother had already moved on to the PlayStation too. Okay. So anyway, Mario Kart changed my life because I actually had a really more negative emotions towards Super Mario. I mean, obviously Super Mario 3 was still awesome, and
Mm.
like there, but like I said, I wasn't very good at the game, so I still had my negative feelings towards it. But Mario Kart changed that because it was just a fun free for all. Like it to me, it was just fun. You played against your friends. Like, so it wasn't really just like, oh, I got to get to Bowser. I got to save this princess who, for some reason, keeps getting kidnapped and can't fight her way out. It was more like, hey, avoid the oil spill in the bananas. It did. It changed. It changed so much for me. It really made me feel different. I love Mario Kart, and I still love Mario Kart. I don't play it no more. I have a Wii, but I don't use it. It's not hooked up. Got it for
You have a
free.
lot of systems you just don't play.
Well, the Wii was what do you call it? One of those. I acquired it. I acquired a lot of things from work. Like I acquired a lot of things as they were just there, and nobody claimed it. I acquired the British version of The Office, which I still haven't watched.
All right, so I'm gonna need you to watch that this week so you can tell me about it.
I know, because everybody's in it. Like the best people are in it. So I'm like, why am I not? I need to watch this, and yeah, I own it. So yeah, I'll do that, and then we'll talk about it next week.
Awesome. We gotta compare it to the US version.
I know. That's
No,
a whole nother wormhole.
oh my gosh, I'm still watching the show, and because like I said before, I finally gotten over the awkwardness.
You
Uh,
good?
it's such a man. I feel like they're just we're just falling into jokes at this point.
Yeah,
Like people are just saying the wrong things.
yeah,
So much, just so much. And
yeah.
it got to a point where I was watching it last night, and one of the characters does something really off the wall, and I'm like, why would you do that? And like I'm
Uh-huh.
waking people up. I'm like, my fault. I'm watching Office. My bad. My
People are like, okay, that's a pass. It's a pass. I
yeah.
understand.
Like you don't understand what he just did. Like you just don't say that. Like who says that? Um, yeah, just all over the place. But yeah, it's I
Just
think right now
enjoy.
it's a good time. It's a good time to crack it open and check out the British version, or and we can compare notes.
Yeah, yeah. Because Ricky Gervais, I just can't with him. He's just too much. He's too much. He's just too much. I can't deal with him. He's ridiculous. So yeah, I will do that, and I may have to just like watch regular Office again too. I just keep a like I I play The Office in my head a lot, and
Mm.
I just keep thinking of the things that Andy was doing. Like, and everybody just kept saying, "Oh, Andy!" Like they just felt bad because here's this crazy man, this crazy entitled brat of a man, and he's just losing it. And then poor, poor, I forgot what Ellie Kemper's name was on the show. The one that his girlfriend, the one who became receptionist
Oh
after
yeah,
they
yeah,
had a
yeah.
kid. And I was just like, this poor girl, this poor, it's just too much. And then after that, then I just watch Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt because it is like the second best show ever created. Because Ellie Kemper is basically just an extension of who she was on The Office, just
Oh
a little bit
wow.
crazier. I mean, Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt is great. You got to watch that. That's a great show. Titus, come on, man. That you just got to watch that show. That's enough. We'll talk about that another week. We'll just go head on once you finish watching all. It's 4 seasons. You can watch it.
Oh goodness.
It's on
I'm
Netflix.
trying. I'm trying.
It's good
There's
stuff.
so much I have to watch that, or rather, I don't have to, but there's a
Right.
lot that I want to watch because people are talking about it, and also it's something that like I'm a huge TV fan. I know people say like TV rots your brain, et cetera, but I have a different kind of appreciation for shows,
Hmm.
um, in how they helped with my creativity, if anything.
Yeah.
Um, like for instance, one of my favorite shows of all time is the Dick Van Dyke Show
Yes.
because I
Great
think
show.
Dick Van Dyke is the comedy is so good
It's good.
that even like the span of time, it's still. I mean, obviously, there's some jokes that just don't land now, but like his physicality,
Hmm.
the fact that he can sing. I mean, it was you know, um, all his talents from the musicals or whatnot, or the theater, they bring to the show,
Yeah.
and they do a great job
Yeah.
of
That was
playing.
awesome. Jerry Van Dyke. Like, come on. Those
Yeah,
are
like
awesome.
play these different characters and whatnot, and so and then what I notice is different themes and different things, similar to like for instance, if someone takes a film class, I've taken a film class, where you learn about lighting, you learn about uh, what certain colors can mean, how people portray certain things. You get a better appreciation for what you're watching. So
Hmm.
same thing in terms of TV. Like there's some things that are like this was a really difficult thing to do, or this was something that was unheard of because of like having a black character on your show when we weren't allowed to be on we weren't allowed to be anything but the comic relief or blackface or whatever the case may be, like doing certain things with the microphones that weren't done before, so it was innovative and that actually branched over to film and um, just so many things that it's like wow, like you did a lot of cool stuff, and it's
Yeah.
history. It's like a snapshot of history, but in a positive way.
Yeah.
And that's so like watching shows with that have like a cultural impact or have messages that kind of resonate with me, uh, bled into other things that I've done in terms of my artwork or writing or whatever the case may be. So it's kind of like that when I'm searching for stuff like that on Netflix, where it's like what, this is really interesting for a lot of different reasons. Well, and was going back to like Dick Van Dyke, for instance, there's things that he's done or that show did that echoes throughout TV. For instance, there's an episode of the Dick Van Dyke, and I didn't really notice this at first, but there's an episode of Dick Van Dyke where the characters go to a lodge and all these creepy things start happening because apparently the lodge is supposed to be haunted, and what you find out over time, like each of the characters start disappearing, and what you find out after a while is that it's a practical joke. It's like a reality show,
Hmm.
and Candy Cam type stuff.
Yeah.
And what I didn't realize is that so a lot of TV shows have borrowed
Uh-huh.
uh, uh, that whole setup and everything. If you fast forward to the Martin Lawrence show, there's an episode where it's Halloween and all the people, Tommy Coe and all them,
Hmm.
they're being abducted in his house. The
Yeah.
lights go out, they go missing. There's a shot where in the Dick Van Dyke show, one of not the producer, but the guy that kind of speaks for the producer's cousin or brother, I forgot what his brother-in-law, I think his brother-in-law. He shows up. There's like a door that they can't open, and there's like a glass, and it just after his wife, Dick Van Dyke's wife, disappears. He goes and he tries to open that door, and then that producer, his head pops up, and he's like, "Hey, you're on Candy Camp, blah blah blah," and he's explaining to Dick Van Dyke what's happening. And if we go to Martin, there's a scene where he's freaking out because all the people have been captured or whatever, and they have a door, his closet door. Tommy's head appears, and he's laughing at him. And they because at the beginning of the show, he's like, I can't be, no one can scare me. And they try and it fails, and so they finally get him here. But the way they did it is identical to, or for the most part, it's a modern version, but it's
Yeah.
identical to Dick Van Dyke, and this is years ago. You know, and it's really interesting to me how these really cool ideas can reverberate throughout time,
Hmm.
and where they kind of give you these nods like, hey, this was really a cool thing that they did. We're gonna do our version.
Yeah.
Um, that's really dope. I know
Yeah.
Frasier does that too. Um, through his show and to other shows. Um,
Yeah.
and we look at like Living Single. If there wasn't no Living Single, there wouldn't be any Friends.
Oh,
Um,
definitely.
Granted, Friends kind of came out in a in a dubious manner. We're not gonna get into that,
Mm.
but uh, Living Single is the better Friends.
I love
Uh,
being single. It was, yeah, it's the better friends.
and if we look at Living Single, you have like Kyle Barker's character, where we show like, okay, so there's comic relief, but there's also a character who, multiple characters who are powerful. You have multiple women who are
Yeah.
powerful. They have really great jobs. Um, Even though they still get into all this type of mess, they're
Hmm.
still role models in a sense. And then you
Yeah.
have Kyle, who's also a role model. He's a lawyer. He wears suits all the time. And granted, they
Does
they
he
kind
wear
of
suits all the time or does he wear sweaters?
the, both, and they make fun of him, for it, but at the same time, it shows a different side than similar to the Cosby Show, where they don't show like negative stereotypes all the
Right, right,
time.
right.
And so it's dope.
Yeah.
Uh, but
I
yeah,
like
I'm not gonna go into that too deep. But it's basically I have an appreciation is my point,
it.
and it's the same thing that I kind of look for in the Netflix shows when I do
Mhm.
watch. I want to find something that speaks to me in a way outside of just its content or comedic content, or whatever the theme is, or genre.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree with you. Those are good.
Anywho, I
Anyway.
I kind of took us away from gaming for a bit. Um, but I think we let's see, we're at an hour 40 something.
Mm.
I think we're good for this week.
Yeah. We can always throw some more games in next week, as we do all the time. We always tell you guys what our favorite games are, what we're playing, what we're looking at. I mean, what you're looking at right now is Still of the Jungle.
Yes, classic game, made by your friends at Epic.
Yeah.
Epic Games. This is before Gears of War and all that good stuff. Before Fortnite, for those, for the extra young crowd. Uh,
Hmm.
they made Jill the Jungle. My wife is actually playing it, and we got it running on DOS. Thanks to Good Old Games, GOG.com. They have a lot of classic games on there. DRM free. Check them out. They have the entire Jill of the Jungle trilogy for free now, which is
Wow.
great. Granted, this is more nostalgia based. If you didn't play this when it came out, yeah. But uh, for everybody else, excuse me, it's all three games. Um, and so yeah, you get them for free. You just got to make an account and you can download it, and it's not tied to GOG, so you don't have to worry about connecting to the internet to play. It's just you got it, you own it, boom, you do whatever you want. And so yeah, she's playing that for this video. So take a gander if you haven't.
Mm.
Um, Good stuff. Good stuff. History. There you go.
Yeah, history.
But thanks for sitting with us and listening, or listening while you do chores or whatever it is you're doing. That's typically what I do.
Right.
Uh, you know, we will be back next week, same time. Which doesn't really matter to you because you're not here when we're recording, but it goes up on Fridays. Fridays is when we record on Thursdays. It goes up on Fridays.
Right.
Um, Definitely come back and check out the Saturday night stream.
Yes.
That's every Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern. We had a blast last Saturday. We actually started posting some highlights of some really funny clips. Definitely check those out. Uh, Also subscribe so you'll be and hit the little bell so you'll be notified of when these things go up. Uh, the other GameCast episodes. I think it's episode 11. Yes.
I think we're at 11.
Yep. Episode 11. So like, the other 10 are there as well. You want to check out on some content. We had some really great conversations.
Yeah.
So definitely check those out. And
Look
you can,
forward to the EP. We'll work on that at some point.
yes, definitely, definitely. And also check out the UFG plays. Recently we played Resident Evil 3, the remake, on there. We also are going to be playing the Final Fantasy remake, Final Fantasy 7 remake, which came out
Ooh,
or comes out tonight at midnight. Uh,
nice.
so Jamie's gonna be playing that for us. You should remember him from the previous cast.
Yes.
And he's also gonna be playing on his private Twitch. He's gonna be playing the entire game there. So if you want to watch ridiculous amount of gaming, you go over there. UFG Blaze, check him out on Twitch. Also on Twitter. You can follow the website on Twitter at U_F_G. You can follow me on Twitter and on Instagram now at KennyUFG. Yes, yes. And we'll talk about why I'm on Instagram in another cast. You can also follow Teresa at Messy Tessie Bakes. No, _Bakes. There you go. _Bakes. Definitely follow her there. Check out our website at unitedforgaming.com. Also, I want to make a quick note here. I haven't been writing a lot of news. I cover majority of the news on the site, and I just haven't been able to do so. I'm not gonna really get into why just yet, but there's a reason why reviews and stuff has gone up, but not news. So you don't see like the PS5 controller on there anywhere. There's a good reason for that. I'm not slacking or anything like that, but it's just some things are a little bit more difficult with Corona and all that good stuff. I'll just leave it at that. But still, go check out the site. There's still good stuff on there for you to read, even our past stuff as well. And like I said, please subscribe, hit the notification bell, because we want you to get all this good stuff.
Yeah. Yep, definitely. Subscribe, read all of the articles. I need to watch the streams.
Oh man, I gotta send you the a clip that I did a few days ago. It's quite hilarious. And it was just the way it just came together. It was great. It's great. It was all accidental. It's hilarious.
I did watch you guys play Super Smash Brothers. I was cracking up over there.
Yes, good stuff.
Okay.
So yeah, be sure to check out all of our content, and yeah, we'll see you next time.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for hanging with us. We're glad we could give you something else to think about and talk about outside of all the craziness that's going on right now. So thanks for being with us. We will see you next week, and bye-bye.